Welcome guys on this episode of Mosaic. Today I'm here with our guest, Fezaan Haroon, the Head of Business Development of Unrattled. And we've got a lot of important topics to cover today, so we'll get straight to it. Firstly, I'd like to ask you, Fezaan, tell me a little bit about your history. How did you get into design? And just talk to me about that. Just sort of give me a brief of that journey to where you are now.
In a nutshell, I got into design kind of by chance. I didn't know what design was, let alone graphic design or whatever kind of design there is. I think everyone nowadays, when you leave school, you kind of don't know what you're going to do. Neither did I, so I kind of went into, a lot of my cousins and family and friends were getting into maths and computing, so that's what I went down. When that didn't pan out, I kind of tried to find my feet, where I took on a college course, which was in art and design.
Okay. And
one of the things that we covered in one module was graphic designing, and we had to do a logo for a company. And that's when I first kind of came into what graphic design was, and I completely fell in love with it. Did that in the subsequent years in my college, and then went on to university to study as well. And then from university I started freelancing as a graphic designer, and then where I landed my first job as a junior designer in a marketing agency, working with kind of action sports brands.
Okay, brilliant. So that's in a nutshell. So I'd like to go a little bit into some of the details of that history. So where did you would say, what was that tipping point for you when you realized that this is the career path that you want to take, and why was it that reason?
It was because of that course in college. I think that was it. I just fell in love. I guess it was one of the things that I was really good at.
Okay.
When I was growing up, I was into drawing. I used to do sketches, painting, etc. But it's kind of when you're that young, drawing, you don't see it as a career path. But I think drawing wasn't the career path. It was more kind of the creative element of my kind of personality that got me into graphic design. And I think the tipping point was my second year of college, when I found out what graphic design was, and like I said, I completely fell in love with it.
Okay.
And have been doing it since.
So just speak to me about that course, and what did you cover in that course? Was it sort of a foundation, or?
Yeah, no, it wasn't a foundation. It was a national diploma. I don't know if they still have that nowadays, but something equivalent to that. And I had no design or art kind of GCSEs or anything like that. And I was competing with people who were coming from doing GCSE and getting A's in art, and they were doing foundation courses. So I had nothing. All I had was some sketches that I did when I was probably about 10 years old. And I remember going to college and having my first interview with the tutor.
So just to define college, is this post GCSEs or post A-levels?
This is post GCSEs.
Okay, right.
After school, again, I still didn't know what I was going to do. So a cousin of mine actually got me into college, or he told me about the college that he went to. So that's when I found the college, Reading College, which I went to in Berkshire. And from there, that's where I found the national diploma.
Okay, so I just need to clarify something. What actually made you walk into that college seeking this course out?
It wasn't. I didn't walk into that college seeking that course. I walked into that college trying to find out what I wanted to do. That's when I picked maths and computing.
Okay.
Because I felt, like I said, people around me were picking those subjects, so I felt like, okay, I'll just do those, and maybe something might pop up and what I wanted to do.
So you were almost in a sort of discovery process of yourself, trying to find out what your strong points were and where your passions lied.
100%. And I think I was kind of more, which I shouldn't have been doing in hindsight. I was kind of going with the herd. Like everyone leaving school, you're trying to look for a career path.
Okay, so direction.
For direction, yeah. And I think for me, it was probably too early to find out what I wanted to do. Like I said, I didn't know what design was. I wasn't into maths that much. I didn't enjoy computing. So I was just trying to find my feet. And like I said, when that didn't pan out, that was the first year kind of college. I kind of did nothing with, I guess. But that first year kind of took me to the national diploma that I did in art and design, which was kind of overall, and that's when I started stalking the tutor to let me in, because like I said, I had no kind of past experience. A lot of people were doing art and design to get into that course specifically.
Well, talk to me about that interest, that specific interest that actually drove you to put so much effort and pressure on that tutor to actually get in?
I guess one side of it was fear. Like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know which path I was, and time was running out. I had to get onto a course. I had to find something to do. I couldn't just leave college. I wanted to study.
Sure.
And then, again, like I said, a lot of my friends were still studying, and they knew what they were doing. A lot of people going into accounting. Some were actually doing design, but it wasn't familiar to me that much. It's just, you've heard of someone doing some kind of design. So for me, when I actually got onto the course, that's when I found graphic design, and that's when I started kind of really pushing towards that.
Okay.
And kind of like you said, the tipping point was when it was just one module. I still remember I think Macs were quite new as well then, so sure. We just got onto the Mac and we started designing logos. And that's when I started excelling, because in the past doing maths and stuff, I was okay at it, but I wasn't excelling in anything. And that's when I saw myself excelling and really honing down on what I was good at.
Okay,
so
wow.
When you see that kind of outcome and you see that sense of achievement, that kind of drove me to realize that this is what I wanted to do.
Okay, so it was almost like as you progressed through the course, you started really sort of discovering this newfound talent that you had, or?
Yeah, it was almost, like, it's kind of that cliche, you don't enjoy your studies when you're at school, and I started enjoying them. Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
So I started enjoying going to college. I started enjoying doing the work, and I started enjoying doing the coursework, going out of the college. That's my phone, my beautiful brand new phone.
That's okay.
If I can just show you this. My top of the range mobile phone.
So where do we leave off?
It was when I was excelling in class and actually enjoying my studies. That's when I realized, okay, this is what I can do. Again, even then I didn't know this was a career path. I didn't know I could make money, because that wasn't the end goal for me.
Wow, so you didn't really have that high insight back then?
No, I still don't know what college was. I mean, I still don't know what graphic design was. Wow. I didn't know, is this something I can make money with? It was just something I realized, this is something I'm enjoying, and it's not being a pain kind of thing. So that's why I kind of took it forward.
So I suppose, obviously, you've done so much growth and evolving since then, and we all do in those sort of initial stages. Yeah. So how would you connect with yourself back then? Like, what kind of person were you back then, in terms of?
Naive. It was a big one.
Okay.
I think a lot of people at that age, they don't know what they're doing. I didn't know what I was doing.
Okay. So just in regards to some of our audience out there, maybe you might be speaking to someone who's in the similar situation, that they're kind of trying to discover their passions and stuff.
Yeah.
What did you find that really kind of kept you in line and kept your focus in all of this sort of discovery? Because you felt that. Like you said, it was your mindset was more naive back then. How would you feel despite all of that, you still kept your focus?
It was the enjoyment. It was the passion. That was it. A lot of people nowadays, I still hear of people doing stuff that they don't really enjoy, and I just don't understand it, because I'm doing something right now that I really enjoy. I mean, I love going into work, and I mean, I was speaking about this before. Is people hate Mondays, and it's kind of, you've got to change that attitude. You've got to do something that makes you feel like, from the weekend, you're going to really enjoy the week. You're going to really enjoy Mondays. That's what you've got to turn it around to be. And I think people who are doing that now, or going into college or whatever they're doing now, you've just got to realize, or you've got to ask yourself, are you actually enjoying this? Or what my teacher used to say is, if you weren't getting paid, would you still do this?
Okay, yeah,
and if I wasn't getting paid, this is what I'd be doing.
Okay, brilliant. So I think that's that's key. As you said, it's about enjoyment and whether or not you love doing what you do. And I think that's a key differentiating factor for anyone that's going in this any sort of field within the creative sphere. It's really important that they enjoy what they're doing. So they're not just. So would you say that they're not just looking at it from a very technical point of view, but they're literally looking for something that they're passionate about?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just design, isn't it? It's anything, any kind of industry. If you enjoy it, do it.
Yes,
if you're not enjoying it, then you've got to ask yourself, why are you doing it?
Exactly.
At the end of the day, is it really worth it? Where you're just getting paid and your kind of mind is going, on shutdown mode every time you go in. You've got to do something that still stimulates you. You've got to do something that you can talk about with passion. And again, it comes out as a designer, it comes out in your work. So if you're not enjoying it, then it's going to show. Your work quality is not going to be, high. Your colleagues will see it, or your bosses will see it.
It shows through. You give yourself away. You exposes yourself.
Exactly.
Wow.
If you're going to enjoy it, you're going to excel even more in what you do, whether it's your career or whatever you want to do, or it's going to come out in your work. Especially when our field is such that, you know, you're kind of expressive with, you know, whatever's in your mind, you express it out on the paper kind of thing. So it's you can't hide it that long kind of thing. So.
Perfect. Okay. You know, you experience in university, right? I think a lot of students today, they're kind of looking for that avenue to really gain all the skill sets that they need before they take on this as a professional, as their profession or career path, right? Whether it's graphic design, motion graphics, anything in the field of within the creative sphere, even filming, etc. I think, you know, there's so many other avenues of education now, right? You can find e-learning, you can find you can just learn on the job as well. Look for internships, internship opportunities. But you know, a lot of us have gone to university. So just talk to me about the positives of that experience and the negatives, you'd say.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, when I was at university, I mean, we didn't have the resources we have now. I mean, now everything is kind of readily available to you, you know, just by a click of the button. So, I mean, the people that are studying now, they're so lucky, and they've got, it's kind of one of the things you kind of take for granted, and you know, until you don't have it. So we didn't have it, so we really appreciated that kind of university lifestyle. Yep. Whereas now you can kind of study online, you learn from YouTube, for example. I mean, I've done that in my career, where I'm just learning things on YouTube to enhance my skill set. But people are doing now, what I would say to them is make the most of it. You know, it's going to fly by. I mean, university, people do find it kind of, I've heard it, you know, it's a waste of time, it's a waste of money. It's not at all. I think that experience that you gain there and the contacts that you gain there, you know, they'll live for longer, you know. And for me, it was a matter of who you know rather than what you know. And it does seem tedious. You know, you're going through the days and you're going through kind of the same thing, same processes, and you know, you have issues with the tutor, you have issues with the work, but at the end of the day, it's all to build your character and all to make you understand how the real world, as they call it, works.
Sure. But how much would you say from university would you feel that you gained that really contributed to your expertise within the working field, like actually working on the field? Obviously, that's a complete new experience for anyone.
It is, but I think what university does is gives you good contacts to speak about when, for example, when I was coming out of university, when I was freelancing, when I needed questions answered, university is the place I'd go to get those questions answered. You know, my tutors were at hand, I could call them, I could email them.
Was it tutors, do you find tutors who are within the academic field and teaching the subject, would you feel there's like a mindset limitation in regards to what they know about actually working on the field, working directly with clients? Or?
No, because a lot of the tutors at university are people that are working in the field. I mean, a lot of my tutors were people who had their own agencies or worked as freelancers.
Okay, wow.
They were working while they were teaching. So a lot of the things they said, yeah, at the time it sounds tedious because, you know, it's subjective when you do design, when you do creative, it is very subjective. So it hurts when you're putting your heart and effort into some design or in some kind of creative, you know, piece, and they kind of thrash it. So,
sure.
But they're saying it out of, you know, knowledge or out of experience. They know what not so much works, but they know how it's going to be. It's kind of building you up, your character.
Brilliant.
I mean, as a designer, you probably know if you've been working in the creative field that so many people will slam your work. So you can't, you know, just get let down, or you can't just sit in the corner and cry about it. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
So you've got to realize, okay, this is the constructive feedback comes in.
Of course. How long did it take for you to? Did you ever find like criticism to be personal? Did you ever take it personally in the beginning?
I
think everyone goes through that.
No,
right?
I still do.
Yeah.
So, you know, at the end of the day, we're human, isn't it? So of course, anything we kind of create.
How do you deal with that? How do you face those issues now, and how are you dealing with it now?
I mean, surprisingly, I've gone the other way around. So when I used to give in.
Okay.
So if someone doesn't like the design, I'll change it, I'll do whatever.
Okay, that's interesting.
So it's please the client. But now I think I've got enough years behind me to stay strong, and I'm trying to drive.
That happens. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I know.
You know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Clients come to me because of my knowledge or because of a certain skill set.
Definitely.
So I'm trying to tell them the right way to do things, I guess.
You're prescribing them a solution.
Exactly. So that's the solution that I'm giving them, and they don't see the biggest, you know, picture, or in some sense, or they might not understand it. So it's kind of working harder to get them to understand what you're trying to portray in your art or in your design or in your work.
Okay.
Obviously, sometimes there's kind of, you've got to choose your battles.
Yeah.
Sometimes not the place to kind of fight for it. So I wouldn't say always you're in the right. You've got to listen to the client as well.
Definitely. Yes. There's a balance.
Because I have to say, a lot of the times clients have been right, and the feedback that they give actually does sometimes improve what you're working on.
Brilliant.
Only sometimes. So.
Sure. So just taking back again, back to university. So you told me about that experience. You had the privilege of working with really good tutors who were agency owners themselves and worked on the field. So that's awesome. And you also said about mindset, right? You're telling me about how your attitude towards criticism evolved as you've kind of progressed in your career. You take it more personally just because you feel that you've gained more kind of
you grow a stronger skin as well.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
You're so used to hearing the same thing, and you gotta be stronger as you go along. But like I said, when the experience comes with it, you find better ways to handle it. Like I said, sometimes you get in a bad mood. When I was younger, I'm sure in my first agency, I've had so many times where clients change something which I've been really passionate about, or they wanted to tweak some, I don't know, design that I really liked, or some logo that I was really behind. But now I think, clients do have a large input into what I do, but I think with the experience, I can drive it to a place where it works for them in a better way. So giving them listening to them is a big thing, isn't it? So
of course,
giving them what they want, kind of thing. And I think over the years, I wouldn't have had that experience when I just came out of university. So I would give in quite quickly to what they want, even if I felt it was the right thing what I was giving them. So. Yeah.
So going back to university, you're talking to me about your experience with tutors, and you had a positive experience overall. That's pretty cool, because a lot of people, I think a lot of people in the industry, they're advising against going to university. They think it's overpriced. They think that the experience is limited and it doesn't contribute anything, nothing huge to your sort of, as you get into the work, actually working in the field itself. So, talk to me more about those positive times and some of the challenges you went through. So give me some details if you can.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will kind of advise against it. I think it's depending on personal. A lot of people that I went to university probably advise against it. I mean, there is that issue about it's expensive, and is it worth the time and what you get out of it. But like I said, I had a positive experience. But if you had asked me while I was at university, I would have said it's a waste of time. I think a lot of people would have. Okay, but like I said, in hindsight, I think it was good because I had the resources to go to when I needed the help. When I was coming out of university, when I was freelancing, how to charge, how to gain clients, how to go about a certain project. So nowadays it's kind of readily available to you. Like I said to you, everyone's got the internet, and there's so many other ways. There's so many other alternatives to university. So I think I wouldn't say you have to go to university. I think find what works for you.
Of course.
For me at the time, that's what worked for me, because the process I had, coming into design, I wouldn't have had that if I didn't go to that university. So that's why I appreciate it a bit more.
Give me a couple of sort of specifics on why you felt it was a positive experience. Maybe like about 5 specific things that really did it for you.
5. Like I said to you, one of the things was that the tutors were from the field. They were designers, they were illustrators, or they were fine artists. So I had all that kind of knowledge at my fingertips. So I could go to them, I could speak to them. That's one of them.
Yeah.
A second thing I would say is the people that you study with.
So community.
Community, and when you come out of university, you need those contacts.
Yeah. Do you still have contact with them today?
So a lot of the people that I went to university with, I'm still in contact, either on friendship basis or have worked with as a client. So
awesome.
Or we've collaborated in different projects. So that kind of environment is good. Which, I mean, there's many other environments nowadays that you'd get, but back then, I mean, we didn't have that. So Facebook wasn't as live as it was then. You don't have kind of all these social media outlets, so it's easy to get people together, but back then we didn't have that, so it was a good place to meet people and to collaborate with people to get that work.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So those those are your two.
Yeah, I was hoping you didn't say.
Points. That's fine. I just threw 5 out there as a random number.
I could probably come up with 5 eventually.
That's fine. Awesome. So those are your 2 strong points. Was there anything that you feel contrary to those to positive, like anything that you would find as negative? What are some of the negatives, challenges, problems you ran into?
Look, it is expensive. It was expensive.
So it's just the money, isn't it? I think everyone complains about that.
Yeah, you know, and it's not getting any easier. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like
harder to get in. Do you think now, or
most universities? Yeah. And we always hear that, you know, design is a field that's kind of everyone's graduating in design. Not everyone, but a lot of people it's increasing. So the demand is higher there now. I mean, even nowadays, I mean, what you see in the news, you see a lot of kind of design stuff on the news nowadays. I mean, I read a lot of things in the paper about designers or about certain brands that are rebranded. It's more on the forefront, so people are hearing more about it. So I think the demand is definitely higher.
Sure.
So I guess nowadays is you're right, it's going to be harder to get into. Another positive, some of the skill sets that I learned, you know, kind of computers were there. It was very early at the computer, so we were still kind of pen to paper, but using Macs were there.
Okay.
But it wasn't that prominent. But obviously, when I left university, we learned those skill sets at university. So
they really contributed to what you're doing now. Yeah.
Understanding how to obviously nowadays, you know, all the software you need to learn. So that's if I didn't have university, I wouldn't have been paid to afford those kind of prices of the software and learn them.
Of course, excellent. Okay, brilliant. So you gave me some really strong points in regards to university. If you were to go back and change anything in university to sort of how you developed your art form or anything that you were learning at that time, what would you change, do you feel?
Definitely take on a lot of the feedback and try to understand the feedback that I was getting from tutors. A lot of the things that I learned from university, I probably didn't catch on until about 2 years after university, to be honest. Like I said, I was naive back then. Even the feedback or the advice I was getting, I got it, but I didn't kind of fully hone into what they were trying to tell me.
Definitely.
Or not just me, but as a group as a whole in the classes. So, like I said, I started understanding all that stuff as I started applying things, or as I started meeting clients, or as I started working on certain projects. It kind of went back to those pages. Oh, I see what they meant by that, or I see why we did that project, because it helps you come up with these kind of ideas. So I think try to understand what you're being told or what you're learning, and I think don't just. One of the things that I did, which I'm quite glad I did, I didn't just leave. I didn't just keep within that university or the projects I was doing at university. While I was at university, I started freelancing, so I started getting exposure already, which kind of helped me when I left university more so than my other kind of peers that were graduating.
Okay, so you did actually start bringing on clients and hustling back then.
Yeah, I was in my second year of when I first started getting my first clients. A lot of them were free.
Okay, talk to me about that hustle. Talk to me about that experience, because I think that this is something that, especially any students in the audience would really like to know how, where they're going to make that first point of contact with.
Yes, I mean nowadays I think I feel like a lot of people want to, there's that whole culture of entrepreneurs now.
Definitely, yeah, 100%.
So a lot of the things, I even hear it, a lot of people come to me, I need a logo, or I need a website, I need this, and I'm like, where are all these people coming from? Like, do you know what I mean? So back then we didn't have that. So I think it's easier to kind of get the work. If you're starting off, what I was given the advice is, if it's your first project or first few projects, do it for free. I didn't get that at the time, because obviously everyone needs the money. But I kind of started doing that in my university second year because of necessity, like we spoke about before. So I do have that passion for design. I had that passion for design back then, but I would say the reason I actually started freelance or started working in design was out of necessity. You've got to make ends meet. So I think now what I would say to people is, don't just be in that bubble of university. Try to get out there and try to do stuff that you enjoy. Whether you're, I don't know, doing some photography or doing some filming outside of university, just do some projects that would help you get some exposure. To
get some traction.
Yeah, and make some mistakes, because when you're, for example, you're doing the filming, I'm sure you've done some filming from, I don't know, you made some mistakes, or you, not even just mistakes, but you start enhancing that skill set. So if you start early, then you can enhance it by the time if you're out of university, by the time you finish.
Got it, yeah, of course.
That skill set's enhanced, and you can really hone in.
Yeah, definitely. So it's all about getting that traction in the beginning.